What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. This story's called Berserk Tyrannosaurus Ivanka. This happened years ago, more than a decade. Back when I was working as a sommelier, chef, manager of one of the top-rated restaurants in the city. Not number one, but not far off either. We might not have been the best, but we did our best. Anyway, this meant that I was going to a lot of tastings on my free time. And sometimes on my days off, I would be down at the liquor store at 7 a.m. to get in line for a particular vintage's release. Basically, some wines were always available. Others came to the LCBO only in limited supply releases. These were first come, first served, so if it was something special I really wanted, I had to be there before opening. This was one such case. I had been waiting outside in the blistering early February cold, -31 degrees Celsius, I believe it was that day. Don't know how cold it was with the wind, but I was well bundled up. People who stayed in their cars might miss out on some things. As I had mentioned, it was first come, first served, so there was some real competition. There were about 9 of us there, plus the parking lady, watching us from her little booth. I knew almost everyone, except one 30-ish lady, dressed to the nines, and a boy, maybe 20-ish, who was with her. There was also some older man who I had seen at another release earlier that year, but never got to talk to. The rest of them were all people in charge of buying for the restaurants, and one guy who was there to buy for a rich guy who lived up in the hills. Pretty much everyone was at least outwardly nice. The manager/handling customers kind of talk was just automatic. We were all standing in the cold. I was leaning against the building and looking out at the line. There was a liquor store employee visibly inside getting stuff ready, and most of the people in line were watching them. Eventually, the doors open and we all roll in. I immediately grab a pallet of brick charred Cabernet sparkling wine, which was just amazing that year. It was right around from the door, first on the list. Bright, but still with the biscuit you expect of actual champagne, even though this was not technically champagne. So now I am rolling my palate through, looking back and forth with a crane neck for what I was really there for. And I found it. Ella Valley Vineyards Ever Red. Delicious, but not well known. I wanted a whole pallet of this as well, so I called over a worker who was standing nearby and asked if they could bring this to the cash for me. I would be over there to pay for it soon. I continue my search and find the Pio Cesare release. It's an excellent year for the Barolo, so we are actually getting 2 full pallets. I finally find them and start moving the boxes from one to the other. As I finish, I start walking towards the cash, pulling my double-loaded pallet of vintage Barolo. Other than this, everything else we will be able to order. This is all we can really fit in the van anyway. I place an order with the same worker I had before. Stuff from the general list. They deliver later this week. Great. I was done. I called the brothers sitting in the van to tell them it was time to move everything to the van. So they backed up to the door and we started on our way to meet them. That's when it happened.
Excuse me? Hello? Hello? What is wrong with you?
She begins snapping her fingers as loud as I think fingers can be snapped.
Hey! Yes, yo! You're the manager, right? This employee has been very unhelpful.
Admittedly, I was dressed kinda like a manager, but bundled up to resist the cold. So I guess it wasn't that unreasonable for her to think. I had also just told some employees what to do. Unfortunately, this situation was already rather out of control, as the woman was manhandling the manager of another restaurant, not an employee. Not that would be okay to pull anyone around by their shirt collar or bow tie. The woman was struggling. Nice old restaurant manager says piteously,
I told you I don't work here. Let go, you're hurting me.
Ivanka was a roughly 30-ish bottle blonde wearing Louis Vuitton and Louboutin shoes. She was wielding a bottle of $500 Dom Perignon, expensive champagne, like a club in her right hand as she dragged the woman behind her by the collar. I frankly couldn't believe what I was seeing. This was about when the young guy who I had seen with her earlier appeared. I'm so sorry, Miss Ivanka. I'm so sorry. I couldn't find it. It's not there.
You idiot! Find it or don't come back!
At this point, the actual manager had arrived. Miss, please put down that bottle. What's the problem? I'm sure I can help you. Just let go of the nice woman and put the bottle down, please. With shock in my voice, I say, "Pardon, miss, but please, don't hold other people like that. Please, let her go, now."
This bench refused to serve me. Refused to serve me! Do you have any idea who I am?
At this point, she is literally screaming, tugging nice old restaurant manager's collar for emphasis. People have started coming to see what was going on. I turned behind me and one of the security guards has run up to me. Luckily, it was the bigger one. I can hear someone in the background calling the police. Not on the phone, shouting to the police down the street outside. I look at the security guard. He's a huge guy. Works as a bouncer on his days off at some of the clubs in the market. He's making a very concerned face. For real though, he is enormous. 6'5" or so, easily 350 pounds part muscle, part punch. He's also very kind, gentle, and a caring person. Berserker Ivanka's attention is off of me for the moment as she screams at the manager. I motion for him to go to the right. I start moving slowly around her to the left. We're used to working together like this because we all get together one night a week after work. The guy also works out at my gym. We both move slowly at first, then rush in quickly. Ivanka isn't exactly imposing, even in her rage. We just rush her while she's still distracted, yelling at the younger guy manager. The guard grabs her left arm, which has been holding the bottle. He plucks the bottle out of her hand as I am grabbing her fingers with one hand, pulling them away from nice older restaurant manager's collar, then spin her arm around as I make sure with my other arm that nice older restaurant manager doesn't fall down. She's quite old after all. Once I'm sure that nice older restaurant manager is okay, I twist Ivanka's arm around behind her back and give it to the guard who has already put the bottle down. So he now has her firmly in his grip. Impossible for her to escape as she continues screaming that we're all going to lose our jobs. It only took a few minutes for the police to arrive, maybe 5 at most. The manager has failed to calm Berserk Ivanka down. There is a local and provincial police officer not far away. Plus, the street between the mall and the liquor store is one of the patrols that is constantly under surveillance. The cops hang out at the mall or out in front of the liquor store a lot because of how often the homeless people try to beg there. Anyway, when the cops finally arrived, they took Ivanka away. She was still ranting hysterically. Never did find out who she was. She just kept screaming at me.
You can't do this, I'll have your head. You're all fired. All of you. Yo, police, arrest them. Arrest them.
She seemed to not understand at all what was going on. The police came and got her from the guard, who was more than happy to be rid of her. She kept screaming about injustice and how she was going to have us all fired and how I was the worst manager in history. No idea what her problem actually was. I couldn't smell alcohol through her perfume, but it could easily have been drugs. Whatever it was, she was acting extremely crazy. She didn't end up hurting anyone badly, though she did try to struggle and bite the cops, so I am sure she got charged with something. Also, she bruised the nice old manager lady around her collar. Nice older restaurant manager was otherwise okay though. I was so busy all the time back then that I didn't take the time to follow through and find out what happened. But I am sure she must have at least been charged with resisting arrest and probably assaults and disorderly conduct. Anyway, people who behave like that at that age usually don't learn. But at least for the time being, the police got her off the street. Tyrannosaurus Ivanka was also banned from the store. That much I was told by the manager on my next visit about a week later. I never did see her again at any events or releases. It definitely does sound like drugs. This story's called Kitty Committee Volunteer, I guess. I finally got a story that's at least tangentially related to the sub. It wasn't a bad one, but I definitely don't work there. So we've had a serious feral cat colony starting around our house, after a colony a few blocks away broke up. After one of them got into our garage, we decided to start doing trap neuter release to make sure the colony stays healthy and, most importantly, doesn't grow. So after trapping our 4th cat, I got in a groove of getting there early, being first in line, and having a clue about the process. My local SPCA only accepts 10 ferals a day. They check everyone in first, give you paperwork and a clipboard to write on, and only after the last person checks in can you go up, pay anything you need to pay, tell them what you need done, and then leave. On a particularly busy day, I was first in line carrying a very spicy cat in a trap who did not want to be there, and I was definitely ready to leave. But I knew I wouldn't be called up until everyone was checked in, and noticed quite a few folks who were waiting outside who hadn't checked in. I walked out holding a clipboard and asked if everyone had checked in. Several people ran in to do so, and one or two who had already checked in tried to hand me their paperwork. I told them they'd be asked for it when they were called up. They still insisted on handing me their clipboards and pens. I didn't argue, since honestly I was bored waiting. Everyone else who was waiting inside, who knew I didn't work there, was giggling as more and more people started asking me questions, to which I answered. It was easier. And by the time I was called up, I had a stack of clipboards to hand over. The lady behind the desk thanked me and I hightailed it out of there, much to the shock of a few folks who thought I worked there. The next day, when I was there with another cat, one of the people came up and thanked me for helping them. I mean, it was in my best interest that folks were moving quickly, so it wasn't entirely altruistic, but it was nice to be useful anyway. And I wasn't doing anything anyway. Also, Feral Kitty was just fine. He's on my front lawn pretending to be a bush right now. We'll keep taking care of the colony here, and hopefully it won't get too much bigger. I've done 5, and 3 of them are hopefully going to relax and be indoor kitties soon. First of all, good work there, Redditor, you know? Strays are a big old problem. Also, good on you for helping out at the shelter. This Redditor is getting some brownie points today, huh? This story's called, I Don't Work Here, but I Am Banning You from the Store. This just happened 20 minutes ago and I'm still laughing about it. I was in the Bullseye store with the red vests and shirts. I was picking up a few office supplies. I managed 3 restaurants and one of the office's supplies ran low on staples and printing paper. And the supply truck won't be in till the end of the month. I gathered the items I needed and headed to the check lanes. I heard a banshee-like shrill screaming. Hey you! I look around and this lady has a person who really does work there cornered, and the poor girl looked to be on the verge of tears. Here's the cast. Screaming customer! Real employee. Yours truly. Yes, you! Mr. Manager! Come here and discipline your employee. She refuses to help me and she was very rude and called me some very bad names. Now, I have read enough of these I Don't Work Here posts and always wondered why no one does this. So I gave it a shot. Is this true? Were you rude to this lovely piece of humanity? Which made her kinda giggle. No, I just told her I'm on my way home. I just finished my shift. If she needs help, she can ask someone who would be more than happy and clocked in. When I told her this, she reached for me. I backed off. I don't like strangers touching me, and I never insulted her. Liar! You called me all sorts of bad words. When I find my husband, he will have you fired if you don't do something about it. Lady, I am the district manager. I will ask you to calm down. If you don't, I am going to have to ask you to leave the store. What? Well, I am just very upset, you stupid F-word. It's been most distressful. In all my years, I have never been treated so horribly. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but you aren't settling down. I am going to have to ask you to excuse yourself from the premises or be escorted by security. I pull out my phone and speed dial my missed messages. But my husband? Go to the customer service desk and page your husband and tell him you'll be waiting outside for him while he does the shopping. Now leave the store immediately. I pretend to talk to security on the phone. Yes, we have an unruly customer who needs to be escorted from the store. Screaming customer throws what she has on the floor and leaves, screaming and yelling, threatening to sue and shut down the store. I turn to real employee and ask if she's okay. She tells me yeah. She didn't know I was in the store, but glad I was. I hope I'm not any trouble. I just worked a double shift. I just want to go home. I'm extremely tired and hungry. Nah, you're not in trouble. I don't even work here. After a second or two, it sinks in what I said and random employee begins laughing uncontrollably. I told her I manage the restaurant up the street and she's welcome to come in and have a free meal on my dime. As I leave for the restaurant, I walk through the parking lot and see the screaming banshee customer sitting in a pickup truck on her cell phone. I could hear her muffled screams and crying, and I figure I better get the hell out of Dodge. Random employee did come into the restaurant to thank me. I told her the offer for the free meal is still good. She took me up on it but tipped the server really well even though it was a free meal. We laughed and talked about the banshee, and she laughed even harder when I told her about seeing her sitting in the truck. I told her that this is definitely going on Reddit. Random employee says she loves these posts and will be looking for it. So, hey Kate, if you're reading this, you are Reddit famous now. Maybe someone will turn this into a YouTube video. Well, my good sir, you just predicted the future because yes, this is now in a YouTube video. So congratulations to you and to Kate and your several children to come, because there's no way that this turns out any other way. Also, I must say, that was an extremely creative approach to getting rid of that festering Karen. Ugh. And yes, I do know what festering means. I referred to her as a festering Karen because that is what she is. She is a festering infection upon humanity. Okay, gross.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.